Hi, I'm Diane Holmes. I teach fiction writers the craft of pacing, which is how gripped they are by the story, and I run the Genius Pacing Academy. That's actually my course that I've built. In addition to that, and in addition to being a longtime student of Mirasee, last year I joined Mirasee as the Mirasee Evangelist. And so I get to tell people about our different courses that we offer and help them do what it is that I do. So before I found Mirasee, I was really struggling working on a project at that time that I hoped was going to make me money. And it was an online business, and it was a blog. It was doing an audience-based business. It was called Pitch University, teaching fiction writers how to pitch, their novels to agents and editors and librarians and readers and all of that good kind of stuff. And, really what happened was I worked 7 days a week. I worked, almost 24 hours a day. I mean, it was 16 and 18-hour days, 7 days a week for 6 months. And at the end of that, I hadn't made a single penny. And so it was a huge experience. I feel like I got a master's degree in a lot of ways. But I also learned how much you could do right and still fail, which is a terrible thing that most people don't talk about. But it's really kind of true. You can do 95% of everything right and still not make it. And so, I was starting a new business, and what I knew is that, I need to succeed this time. I don't have time to waste, on a failure. So I decided to join Course Builders Laboratory. It was a super easy decision, and I was blown away from the very, very first section, because as much as I've studied, and I'm a perpetual student, I actually have a degree in marketing. I have studied marketing and business and all of those things my whole life. And I'm pretty practical. I was a computer programmer. So, I come to the scene with a lot of skills, but I started learning from the very first lesson. It was so phenomenally different, Danny's approach. And I knew immediately, it's this is what will work. This is actually what will succeed. And let me give you, a couple examples of that so that you'll understand. He starts off by asking, the question, how can I know 100% that I'm going to succeed? And doing actual research. And the way that he does that is it's really genius. And, I couldn't believe that I hadn't thought of it. I had one of those moments because I actually am a researcher, just kind of by nature. And even with all of the skills and all of the knowledge and the fact that I was a perpetual learner, the way that he has you approach course building and looking at it from the end of will it sell before will you do it, it really was a unique place because entrepreneurship, there's a lot about that that's very creative, and that is about, people coming up with great ideas and following their passion. And yes, it is about that. But if you never ask the question, will people buy it and how do I know that? Then you're working in the dark the whole time and you're just hoping that they buy. And so all I could think was, I want to do that. I don't want to spend any more years, because literally with fiction writing and with entrepreneurship, there are years that I have spent doing things hoping that it would turn out, and having that faith and having that tenacity. There's a lot of good traits in trying and trying and trying, but oh my gosh, to try smarter, this is the things. And so it was a huge game changer for me to realize that you could do it this other way. And then when I tried it, because I just decided, I'm all in. I will do exactly what you say, exactly how you do it, and that's what I'm doing. And it worked. And it worked even better than anything I had experienced when it comes to the experience the students had. So I immediately started learning, and I keep learning every day. Every time I apply these techniques, I learn something more, because the whole strategy really sets you up to be in this place of power as a business owner and as a course creator, as a dreamer, as somebody who wants to change the world and do what they're born to do. All those things, it sets you up to actually do it well and succeed. So I faced a lot of challenges as I moved through that I wasn't expecting. And I wasn't expecting them because, like I said, I have a degree in marketing, which is a business degree. I come from that background. I've worked for corporate America. I know how to work hard. I've studied entrepreneurship and, decades, blah, blah, blah. And I know what I'm teaching. I certainly have a background in that. So, and not only that, I was a systems engineer, so I'm like tech friendly. So you would think all of that would line up to give me this kind of almost unfair advantage as I'm doing my course. I was really unprepared for some of the things that I felt as I was going through and doing my very first pilot. I didn't know how freaking scared I was going to be. Anyway, what I realized was that every single thing I was doing was kind of on the bleeding edge of new things for me. That, you know, everything was a stretch. And so the course really, if I wouldn't have been able to do this without the course and without Mirasee and without my coach, Lizzie, because what I knew is that someone had my back. It is that mind shift, it makes all the difference. I knew that no matter what, I had somebody who I could ask questions to, that I wasn't going to just fail on my own steam, you know, that I actually had resources that I could draw on, and that I was also in the student mastermind group, which I was heavily involved in. In fact, I was working these really long days on my pilot, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But I was working really long days, 7 days a week, executing this pilot and, you know, developing it and delivering it at the same time and co-creating with my students. And I still went out to the student mastermind every single day, because no matter how exhausted I was, I needed to go out there and be with people who were doing the same thing and who I could say what this experience was like and not feel crazy and get constant support. So, I'm following all the steps, and I'm, pulling everything together, and I'm creating my sales page, and, which is a lot of fun. There's so much about this is creative, and so it's right in my wheelhouse, and it feels very fun, right? And everything is fun right up until the sales page goes live. And that's the minute that you realize you believe no one will buy. And you're right up like with that pause of breath, where you realize you don't know what you're going to do when nobody buys this and the cart is closed. And what I did was I tapped 3 friends, because I don't have an audience, I don't have a website, I have nothing. So I tapped 3 friends and I said, would you put this out to your lists? And they did. One had a dead list, so 2 of them had a live list. One also did a blog post and posted to some different groups they belonged in, and that was it. I sold out in 4 hours. I was so shocked, and I was just grinning ear to ear, and I couldn't even speak. When I saw this, I've never had that experience. I've had the experience of working really hard and failing, or working really hard for success, but that, it's too good to be true success. I had never had that. So I didn't even know what to do. I hadn't planned to take the page down. I didn't even know how to close it down at that point. I left it up for 24 hours. I had wanted 15 students. And what I was doing, this is writing. It's fiction writing, so it's very writing intensive. It's very hands-on, a lot of work with me and the student. So 15 students is a lot for a teacher, with the amount of work that I was going to be doing in teaching 8 weeks of classes, live classes, question and answer, forum work, email engagement. There's a lot that was going into this. So by the time I pulled it down, I had 30 students, which, is such a cool thing, and you just feel lucky and you feel rich, and there's not a moment that you think this is going to be 80 hours a week of work. Because a high-touch pilot is just it's a lot of work, but I was really fortunate. I had given away a few just to friends, here are freebies, but the 30 people who came in, they were not friends. They were not freebies. It was, they saw that it was a pilot, and I was really clear on my sales page. I had a whole section about this is a pilot, and here's what the pilot experience is, and here's what you get, and here's what I'll be doing. Very upfront with it, and they were all in. They could not wait to be in on this pilot. So I'm looking forward to the future. I have a lot of plans for where this is going to go. where I'm going globally with this, all the different types of iterations, whether it's a single run, a membership site, an in-person retreat. I plan to make this my livelihood and to do some really great things with this. I am going to change the world by teaching the fiction writers of the future generations how to connect with their readers better, and that's pacing. And so I'm super excited to do that. And every time I teach a writer, all of their stories after that will be different. So, whatever your niche is, you're going to be, changing the world. You have that opportunity if you choose to do that and to tip that first domino and, have that kind of effect. And of course, it has great meaning in my life, and it's a huge passion. And anytime you get to work and be paid for something you love to do, it almost seems, unreal. But, that's the way it should be. And it is real because you can look around and you can find people doing that every single day. So here's the thing I want to tell you. If you're thinking about enrolling and you don't know if you should, I think, the big question is, it comes back to, how do you want to earn a living and what do you want to do with your life? Every day, whether we think about it this way or not, we're taking that next step in creating our legacy. And we have a time in, there's never been a better time in the history of the universe for ordinary people, whether you're a man or a woman, no matter what your race, no matter what your country, to have the opportunity to go create something wonderful, to create an empire, a course empire, if that's what you want to do. And I think the single best thing you can do for yourself is not waste time. Because what happens is that years later you look back and you didn't get there, and that's a tough thing. And my wish for you would be to have success and to have it, to be successful as quickly as possible. And I don't mean like in the next 7 days you're going to create a course and you'll make, 7 figures. And I don't mean like that fake success. I'm talking about like that really grounded success that happens when you put in the elbow grease and you do the work and do what it is you love. So if that's, who you are, seize the opportunity. And I love Course Builders Laboratory because it's so respectful of you being, the CEO of your business, you being the entrepreneur, you being totally capable of being that person who creates this course empire. The course is full of just all these genius ways to level up your skills. And the truth is that if you're serious about, doing something like this, you're going to be leveling up for the rest of your life.